Federal trial date has now been set for one of the indictments against former President Trump. He'll go on trial over classified documents May 20th, 2024 in Florida. He's accused of illegally retaining hundreds of documents and obstructing justice. He pleaded not guilty to 37 counts. Prosecutors wanted to go to trial this December. The defense had hoped to go after the 2024 presidential election. Trump's also facing a trial in a hush money case in New York, and he's also the target of another Justice Department investigation into his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election and the January 6th insurrection.
I want to talk about all that. Joining us now with his insight on the trial and more from the past week, the host of the WGN Political Report, Paul Lisnek. Paul, how you doing?
Good Friday night, everybody.
Good Friday night.
Let's start with that trial date.
Yeah.
It is conceivable that by next May that Trump could be the nominee to be president.
Conceivable, but not like, nominee, yes.
Yeah, the nominee.
That's likely to happen,
Yeah.
I think, by the time Super Tuesday and all that is done, March, April. By that time in 2016 or something, most of that had already happened. It's interesting, when the Judge Aileen Cannon setting this date kind of split the baby, right? I won't go December, but I won't go after the trial. But the way I look at it is she sort of picked a date that would be post-primary season, meaning Trump probably will be the nominee at that time, getting ready for debates and the convention and all of that.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine the political fights that will go on at that point. You're going after him now and putting him on trial while we have the convention and all that kind of stuff. So there's no right answer to it. But when you said before it would be by then, I don't expect it to happen on May 20th. There are so many, there's a string of motions, things that have to happen, and any one of those things pushes it, and then it's a domino effect. This gets pushed, that gets pushed. So it wouldn't surprise me if that trial now happens maybe over the summer, maybe into the fall, and the closer you get to November, the less likely it is DOJ will proceed.
Let's talk about this target letter that Trump said on social media that he had gotten it from special counsel Jack Smith. What is this target letter? Is that a such thing, or is it really, is it a real deal?
Yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a thing. And you don't want one. When you get a target letter, that is the government saying, we are probably going to indict you. Now,
what was his purpose to let that come out?
Well, of course, that came out from Trump, not from the
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Jack Smith didn't release that.
No, Trump did.
Well, that was just Trump being Trump. I mean, he, remember the time he said, I'm going to be indicted on Tuesday, and it didn't happen. So that's just what President Trump does. So he got this apparently on a Sunday night. That ultimately did get verified. But none of these leaks are coming from the Department of Justice. So when you get a target letter, it's basically the government saying, we're going to indict you. Now, it's not 100%, but you can pretty much be sure. And just because people didn't get target letters, because what started to happen is the networks, and they started to call Rudy Giuliani and other people, how did you get one? Nobody else said they got one. But here's the thing. The target letter, and we have not seen it yet, but it's been reported the areas of law that he's being charged with. And they include the deprivation of rights, conspiracy to defraud, and witness tampering, all of which are very, very broad. Lots of things can come under it. But the only thing I wanted to point your attention to, the one that says conspiracy to defraud, because Mike and Ray, that means he's not alone. There has to be somebody else involved. I personally think they won't charge that person in a Trump indictment, which we could see next week, to be honest with you, because now you have more lawyers involved and more, requests. I think that Jack Smith is going to do everything he can to make that January 6th case happen as fast as he can. And in D.C., it'll go faster than Florida.
All right, let's put our sights on Illinois. The state Supreme Court upheld the getting rid of cash bail as a system here in our state. Do you think that other states now will follow the lead of Illinois?
I think what they're going to do is maybe watch how things go in Illinois for a while. The state has paid a couple of professors, one of whom is on my show this weekend, to study sort of the cash bail situation prior to this, and they've been paid now, or will continue to be on contract, to study it after things go into effect. So the bottom line is, when this decision came down, the question was, well, didn't the court address like the levels of violence and crime, and what do they think about that? No, they didn't have to. It's a 5-2 democratically controlled court. In 5-2 are the numbers, and that was the vote. And essentially they said, look, this is about the power of the General Assembly. Did the General Assembly have the right to do it? They went back through constitutional history back to 1818. The bottom line was nothing prevented the General Assembly, the House, from doing what it did. And then secondly, when they referenced the constitutional language, the magic language that opponents went after is something called sufficient sureties. And the meaning that opponents to this bill said, well, look, that means money. That's a reference to money. And the Supreme Court said, that's not a reference to money. That can be anything.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, they do not have a code of ethics like the other courts do.
Not the U.S. one, right.
First of all, why don't they? Second of all, Senator Dick Durbin wants to change that, obviously, by introducing a bill about that. And why don't Why isn't there a Supreme Court code of ethics?
Well, you know, and I teach ethics for the Bar Review. There is a judicial code of ethics, and basically everybody follows it. There's a theory that the Supreme Court should follow it too. But the tradition has just been that they just see themselves as not bound by any of it.
Are they above it all?
Well, I think it looks like that's the way they see themselves. So Senator Durbin, who, as you know, on my show last week, talked about the his bills going forward and requiring the Supreme Court to pass an ethics code. But you know, just because, and it's passed the committee, so now it goes to the Senate.
Right.
And even if it passes, I mean, the question is, the fight will be, we are a separate branch of government, says the court. You can't make us do this. Of course, you have to ask the question, why don't you want a code of ethics? What is with everything that's coming out now? You know, they had a decision this past term telling Alabama, you've got to acknowledge 2 African American districts, and Alabama just is ignoring that decision today. I mean, the Supreme Court needs the public to follow it and have confidence in it. Don't know why they wouldn't have a code of ethics, but I think there'll be a fight over separation of powers.
But who would do that code of ethics? Who would put it together?
Oh, well, the bill, Durbin's bill, basically requires the Supreme Court to have it done. There's a committee, there's ways that it gets done, and they would have input. But it's so obvious, you know, talk about transparency, disclose all the money you're getting. That's really kind of all they need. And recuse yourself when you need to recuse yourself. We'll see if that happens.
All right, so on Sunday, you're going to be talking more about the SAFE-T Act?
We are. I've got one of those professors I just mentioned, David Olson. He's going to join me to talk about what they have studied and what they will study. And then an old friend of yours, Alderman Walter Burnett, who is now Vice Mayor Burnett, is going to join me. What's really interesting about him is he supported Lightfoot, and then in the runoff he supported Vallis, and yet Johnson makes him the Vice Mayor. But not just, you know, not just if I die, you take over, which is what Vice Mayor has been in Chicago. Basically, it's you're going to have a real job, $400,000, staff and all of that. So I'm going to talk to Burnett about what a Vice Mayor does and why was he picked when he was certainly not on Team Johnson. He'll explain all that.
Keep your friends close or your enemies closer?
Team of rivals, right?
All right.
Obama did it.
Yeah, all right, he did.
And so did Lincoln.
All right.
All right,
Thank
Paul
you.
Lisnick. We'll see you Sunday morning. Thank you.